Casual magic is about how we can find beauty in the mundane everyday. We all look forward to the 1% of our days that are extraordinary, like the wedding, the birthday, the job promotion, but 99% of our days are actually just ordinary. And wouldn't it be sad if we only felt joy 1% of the time? Casual magic is about finding the little things in your day that are casually magic and training yourself to define joy in new ways. Hi everyone, my name is Jade and welcome to today's episode of Finding Your Casual Magic. Today we're talking about purpose. Dun dun dun. I feel like purpose is the source of so much existentialism, so much fear, scariness, but we're going to try and make it a little less scary. Why do we feel motivated to get out of bed every morning? Why is it we might feel compelled to change jobs? Why is it we feel we need to make changes to our life? Or why do we feel content living the way that we are? One could argue that all of these things come down to a sense of purpose. Guiding all of our decisions is that North Star of our purpose in the world. And the sad thing is, it can sometimes feel quite elusive. Many of us don't know what our purpose is. Some of us would rather not think about that because it's kind of a dramatic and scary topic. But the thing is, all of our decisions day to day, big and small, are driven by our sense of purpose. So what if rather than waiting to discover our purpose, we could create it? Today, I'm going to be looking at 3 main routes that one can use to find their purpose in this world. I'm also going to be looking at how culture can affect our sense of purpose, how our society, how the people around us affect our purpose. And then I'm also going to share some of my own personal journeys with discovering what my purpose is in this world. If you've been here before, then you would know that I always try and invite you to be fully present in this space. I really want this podcast to feel like a safe space, a little safe respite from the otherwise whirlwind hecticness of your life. And so I invite you for the next 40 minutes or so to truly be here with intentionality. I dare you to stop scrolling. I dare you to maybe put on Do Not Disturb and commit to making this time and space what you need it to be. Before we get into today's topic about finding and creating our purpose, as always, I like to start every single episode with a very short 60-second-ish meditation where we can really just take a moment to be, to ground ourselves, to come back to our breath. And I just love this vision of all of us, all around the world, taking this moment to meditate together. No matter where you are, no matter which country, whether you're on your work break, whether you're on the bus, just take this moment to be present. I hope in the next minute you come back feeling lighter, a little bit more clarity, and then we can dig into today's topic. Take a second to notice where you are in space. Are you in a room? If so, how big is the room? Are you outside? What can you see? And if you feel comfortable to do so, gently close your eyes. Start to become aware of your breathing. Notice where you feel the breath in your body, maybe noticing the rise of your chest and belly at the inhale and fall on the exhale. Imagine yourself rooting down into the ground, feeling grounded and aware. And maybe notice if you're carrying tension anywhere in your body. If you can, try to allow that tension to release as you exhale. You can imagine all the tension just flowing away. We're going to do a final 4, 6, 8 breath where you'll take a deep inhale for 4, hold it for 6, and then exhale for 8. So when you're ready, deep inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold at the top for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And big exhale, clearing exhale for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And when you feel ready to do so, gently open your eyes again. Welcome to the episode. If you've been here before, then you know that I love to start my solo episodes with some research, some data, some stories. So when it comes to purpose, let's learn from the world. Do we need purpose? What a question. According to research, the answer is yes. Apparently, purpose reduces your feelings of aimlessness and discontent. It enhances your resilience. It helps you foster a deeper sense of fulfillment, all of which could majorly impact the quality and even the longevity of your life. You could literally live longer if you have a big sense of purpose. According to Dr. Stacy Schaefer, a psychologist and researcher at the University of Wisconsin-Madison Center for Healthy Minds, in studies where people were shown negative or stressful images, then people who had a relatively high sense of purpose were able to recover a lot more quickly. Schaefer also did a really important piece in this field in the Journal of Psychosomatic Medicine, which basically showed that in this longitudinal study conducted among participants with an average age of 78, those with higher levels of purpose at the start of the study were more likely to be alive 5 years later than those with lower levels of purpose. So basically, higher purpose, longer life. And this particular study actually focused on older adults and included people from a variety of demographics and with various chronic conditions. So it kind of shows that even when you account for many different control factors of people's lifestyles and demographics, this sense of purpose was an actual statistically significant factor in improving longevity. According to Dr. Hill, a researcher at Washington University's lab for purpose, aging, transitions and health, he posits that there are a few reasons behind this link between purpose and longevity. So one potential reason is that people with a strong sense of purpose may be less distracted by daily events and daily stresses. So if you have a strong purpose, you're just less stressed by the day-to-day concerns because you're able to take a step back and see your life, see that day with a wider perspective. And interestingly, people with a strong sense of purpose tend to take better care of themselves. So tend to exercise more, they are generally more active, they maybe drink less alcohol and go to the doctor more often. It's kind of suggesting that purpose is useful. It can help you live longer, it can make you happier, it can make you more resilient to stress. But as it's so elusive, how can we define purpose? I'm sure many of you have an idea, a rough sense of what purpose is, but I think it's really useful to look at how researchers define purpose. And it seems that there are two main ways we could be looking at purpose. Firstly, purpose can look like the content or character of our goals. So this might be what you're thinking of, right? Like a big mission in life. I want to eradicate poverty, or I want to be of service. I want to help people. I want to make people more joyful. It's like a grander goal or vision for life. And this is also how the American Psychological Association defines purpose. So they define it as a mental goal or aim that directs a person's actions or behavior. But what I found very interesting in my research is that you can also feel a sense of purpose whether or not you tie it to a big aim. So for example, Dr. Schaefer says, it doesn't have to be a grand purpose. You don't necessarily have to be saving the world. Day-to-day tasks like cleaning the house and cooking dinner can feel very meaningful. Purpose can come from simply waking up in the morning and have something that you want to accomplish for an hour that day. And a kind of an example that I like to use to think about this is that if you need to study for an exam, you could be motivated by your purpose of wanting to get into your dream university. Maybe you have a big dream of wanting to become a doctor. And so when you're sitting down to study, you're motivated by that larger goal. But equally, you could just be motivated by the intrinsic process of studying. Like the actual act of sitting down and just learning for fun could be what feels like the purpose to you. Just sitting there and learning. That is equally purposeful as having a grander dream of why you're studying. And a lot of the research tends to show that finding purpose involves identifying your values, your passions, your goals, what ignites your inner fire, what gives meaning to your actions. But what's also really interesting is that there's quite a few studies that show your sense of purpose coming from some kind of altruistic or lens of gratitude being like a strong route to finding purpose. Your purpose is the driving force behind your decisions and actions, guiding you towards a life that resonates with your authentic self. So how do we find our purpose? Today, I just want to focus so much of this episode on these 3 ways that we can find purpose, and then I'll explore how I've used each of them to find a sense of purpose at different times in my life. And I really hope that you can walk away from this episode with some tools. If you're feeling a bit purposeless, then maybe you can sit down, have a think about one of these routes to finding purpose, and hopefully come away feeling like you know why you're living this life. Route number 1, the spiritual way. When I was thinking about how to approach this topic, I kind of realized it would be remiss to talk about purpose without talking about the thing that has guided most people in finding purpose throughout history, throughout time, throughout cultures, and that is religion. Religion, spirituality, and the belief in higher powers beyond us. When you're religious, a lot of your sense of purpose is tied to religious teachings, religious text. You know, it's like almost a framework that's given to you about what it means to live a good life. So it makes sense that religion can be such a source of comfort, a source of guidance. It often can provide you with a wonderful community of people with like-minded beliefs. And yeah, it's a wonderful source of feeling like your life has a higher purpose. If you're religious, maybe you resonate with this. Like maybe if you're Christian, like it's just clear to you that so much of your purpose in this world is like directed towards knowing that in the afterlife you would like to ascend to heaven and living a good moral life based on the teachings of the Bible. While if you're a Buddhist or if you believe in reincarnation, then maybe a lot of your sense of purpose is derived from gaining good karma and thinking about how you can reincarnate into a higher, different life form on your journey to nirvana. But what I find really interesting is that the world is increasingly becoming less religious. According to a poll by AP News, there is a global fast-growing population of people without a religion, and 3 in 10 US adults said they had no religious affiliation. About half of them identify as atheist or agnostic, and the other half say that their religion is nothing in particular. And there's a huge shift away from religion, especially in younger adults, with 43% of 18 to 29-year-old Americans responding none when they were asked which religion they follow. And this also seems to be a worldwide trend. Like in Japan, 70% of people in Japan say they have non-religious feelings. Nearly 80% of Italians say they are Catholic, but most view it as a tradition, with fewer than 20% attending services weekly. And I just find this really interesting. Whether you're religious or not, I think it's interesting looking at secular society and thinking about how humans, psychologically we crave a sense of purpose, and yet maybe we're not getting that from religion anymore. And so it forces us to redefine how we live a good life, which is kind of stressful. It's not defined for us anymore. For people who have no religious beliefs, their sense of purpose might subconsciously be more influenced by their culture and the things that their society values. So, for example, if you live in the West, you are more likely to be part of an individualistic culture. And under individualism, it generally believes that one's personal fulfillment, the expression and fulfillment of you as an individual is the most important thing for the functioning of a great society. Whereas under collectivism, which tends to be more countries in the East, the belief is that the prioritization of others, of the community, is the most important thing to value for the betterment of society. So we've kind of got focus on the individual, we've got focus on the community. And when we're raised into those cultural influences, they can influence how we view our personal purpose. If our culture is more individualistic and tends to value personal accumulation, personal fulfillment for the stability of our family and our home, then your sense of purpose might be thought of through the lens of career, ascending a corporate hierarchy, fulfilling your personal dreams and desires, and that's how you think of the perfect purpose for your life. Whereas if your culture is more collectivistic, then maybe the way that you think about purpose is through the lens of what will serve the community around you, or maybe being willing to sacrifice your own dreams and desires for the dreams and desires of others. Before looking at more tangible routes to finding a sense of purpose, I think it's really interesting to first consider this route, this kind of spiritual route, this cultural route, and to actually question and reflect on how much the forces around us influence your sense of purpose. Maybe you can question, how do my beliefs shape the way that I walk through the world? How does what my culture values influence what I tend to value? And is that something that I actually hold true? Is that something I want to value? Or is it just something my culture values and that I've almost adopted as a byproduct of growing up here? Route 2 to finding your purpose, the strategic way. This guide to purpose is inspired by a workshop that I did a few years ago, but I think is also how a lot of companies work out the purpose for their organization. Purpose is derived from 3 things: defining your personal values, your core values, deciding on your guiding principles, how you walk through this life, and thirdly, defining a mission statement. And your mission statement comes from your core values and comes from your guiding principles. So in this workshop, we started with understanding our values. And values are something timeless, core, and unchanging. They are not something we just pick from our heads today, being like, oh yes, I value impact, I value gratitude. Instead, values are actually something you already have. Maybe you just don't know the words for them, but it's already showing up in the way that you make decisions, in the way that you move through the world, in the way that you were raised, the things that are really important to you. Those are your core values. In this workshop, they helped me understand that 3 to 5 values is enough. You actually can't have 10 or 20 core values. There's too many. It's like you have to decide something over another thing, right? Like, what is your biggest priority? And I think you can definitely do the questions that I'm going to leave in the show notes. I think they'll be really helpful for you to delineate your values to inform your wider purpose. But I think the biggest questions you need to ask yourself are, in 100 years, would I still have these values? No matter what changes in the external world around me, no matter what happens in my family, friends, close circles, would I still hold these values core? And the answer should be yes. And then the second question to ask yourself is, if these values became a competitive disadvantage, would I still hold them true? And again, the answer should be yes. So for example, if one of your core values was fairness and the belief of equality, and then you worked for a company where you were put on a project that required you to be doing something which you felt was unjust or unfair, that would be a competitive disadvantage in that moment, because if you spoke out against the project, maybe your company would be less likely to be put on there, maybe you'd be more likely to lose your job. But that's a true core value. If that's something that you really feel in that moment and you just have to speak out against it, then that is something core to you, even when it challenges the things that might benefit you. And then when you have these building blocks of your 5 values, which again, you can do the questionnaire in the show notes to help you identify, you use these building blocks to define your guiding principles. And these are almost actionable ways that you can put these values into your lifestyle. So say, for example, if one of your core values is gratitude, how do you make sure you practice that? One of your guiding principles could be that every single day you will make sure you write down 5 things that you're grateful for. You're just making sure you're living a life that is guided by your values. If one of your core values is community, then you can commit to volunteering at least once a week or doing something where you're going out into the community and serving. As long as you're living by your guiding principles, then your life is in total alignment with your values, and that will give you a strong sense of purpose. And finally, in this workshop, this way that we can define our sense of purpose, we've got the building blocks of our values. We've used our values to inform our guiding principles of our lifestyle. The final step is to define your mission. And this is something I really resonate with. I love having a grander mission, a bold statement about how I want to move through this world. And your mission can change throughout your life. It's not like your values, which stay core forever. Your mission is an expression of these values. So say, for example, one of your core values is learning. Then your mission statement might be to improve the education system, or to help other children learn, Your mission statement is a really tangible vision or goal for the world that helps you actualize your values into something real. Route 3 to creating your purpose, the ikigai way. So a few years ago, I read this amazing book called Ikigai, A Japanese Reason for Being. This is a really incredible tool for finding this intersection of what you enjoy, what you can be paid for, and what the world needs. And genuinely, you've got to see this diagram. It's kind of hard for me to fully explain. I'll link it in the show notes. I'll also put it on screen if you're watching the video version. But it's this Venn diagram, and every circle of the Venn diagram asks you a different question to help you guide this sense of purpose. And I really like this method because it feels so tangible. If you feel very lost right now, you don't want to do this whole soul-searching spiritual lens to work out your purpose in the world, then Ikigai gives you this set of questions to help you define this intersection of how you can spend your life meaningfully. Ikigai is where you try and find this delicate, careful balance between your passion, your mission, your profession, and your vocation. And there are 4 main questions. Again, going to leave them in the show notes. But if you want to, you can even pause this and journal about them now. The questions are: 1. What do I love doing? What are my hobbies? What am I doing in my free time? 2. What am I good at? Where do my strengths lie? And what are my hidden talents? 3. What does the world need? What would be the one thing that I would like to change? And what can I do to make this world a better place? And 4, because we live in the real world, what can I get paid for? What jobs or positions spark my interest? And wherever all of those things intersect, that is your ikigai. That is your tangible purpose. And the beauty is that your ikigai is a living, evolving, changing thing. It can change as your passions evolve. It can change as the world needs different qualities out of its people. But yeah, it's a really good start, a really good set of questions if you're feeling purposeless. So I was a young person who always needed to have their 5-year plan mapped out. I was, and maybe still am, a bit of a control freak. I just like feeling in control of my life, and that can be very difficult when there is so much out of your control. I liked to know my goal, because if I had a goal, then I knew how to spend my time. I could direct my energy, my efforts towards that eventual goal. So my life journey started on the ikigai lens of purpose, this very tangible sense of purpose. I had found my overlapping intersection of what the world needs, what I enjoyed, what I valued, what I could be paid for. I wanted to be a vet. I loved animals as a child. I am a nature girl at heart. I grew up in the countryside. I've always loved animals. I went vegetarian when I was 6, much to the dismay of my entire family. I remember watching Charlotte's Web, which is about this movie about a little girl becoming friends with a pig and saving this piglet from death in a slaughterhouse. And I remember resonating so deeply with this little girl and just wanting all the pigs of the world to be my friend. And yeah, I knew that I had to stop eating meat back then. And yeah, I think from this very clear value of I love animals, I care about animals, I want to make the world a better place for animals, knowing that I valued learning, I valued education, becoming a vet just felt like the natural purpose for me to align my life to. And being a motivated individual with that clear goal in mind, I spent every single school holiday doing work experience. I literally spent 4 years every single Saturday working at my local stables just to spend time with horses. I emailed every animal rescue, kennel, cattery in the area and would just shadow people, volunteer. I dissected a testicle or 2 in the vet surgery, watched a few surgeries and watched a dog being neutered. I even got work experience at London Zoo, cleaned out some giraffes. When I have a goal, I become quite militant about making this goal happen. And as a teenager, that was my goal. All my friends knew that that was my purpose in life. But through doing all this work experience, I started to experience this sense of like lostness and emptiness in realizing that my hopes and dreams for my purpose weren't quite what I expected them to be in actuality. Like, I just realized I didn't really like the sterile environment of the veterinary surgery. I didn't really like dissecting testicles. I don't know, I just didn't want to be a vet. And that was the most heart-wrenching thing to learn after committing probably like an equivalent of at least 4 to 6 months of time purely spent in animal establishments trying to make that goal happen. Like, I was studying maths, biology, and chemistry at A level in order to serve that goal of wanting to be a vet. And it's the worst thing ever, having a sense of purposelessness. Like, my purpose, my strong, lovely defined ikigai purpose was falling apart. And yeah, our purpose becomes such a core part of us. And when your purpose gets challenged, it feels like who you are gets challenged too. So it just freaked me out. I didn't have the 5-year plan, the 10-year plan anymore. And even like all my studying felt aimless. Because if we come back to those two definitions of purpose, like you have purpose in a wider goal or you have purpose from the task itself. My purpose in studying definitely came from that wider goal of I want to become a vet. And so all of a sudden, all of my studying just felt like meaningless. However, what I came to realize is that my purpose in life wasn't actually to be a vet. My purpose was that I wanted to be of service. I wanted to help. I wanted to help people and animals and the world. And the beauty in that being my purpose is that it could be fulfilled in many different ways. And I think the biggest place I have found a sense of purpose from then on is in my YouTube channel. So I actually started my YouTube channel without having done a dramatic reflection on what my purpose in the world is. I started my channel for various reasons, one of which was I was doing maths, biology, and chemistry A level and doing very academic subjects, and I wanted a creative outlet. But also, I was a very stressed GCSE student, and I can remember going onto YouTube and just looking to see if any older students had given their advice to try and ease my anxiety, my revision anxiety, maybe provide their study tips. And there was nothing at the time. So I thought that maybe I could be that voice that younger me needed. And so I started my YouTube channel talking about studying, sharing my study advice, sharing my revision tips, and again, did it just wanting to help people, but not intending it to become my main source of purpose. But then in my gap year, I attended this workshop, the one that I mentioned for the second route to finding purpose. And it asked me to define what my core values were, what my guiding principles, and what my mission was. And I realized that I had basically actualized those 3 things through having this YouTube channel. I realized that one of my biggest values in life is connection. I really love people. I really love connecting with new people, speaking to new people. And in a weird way, YouTube is like the most incredible form of connection. Like, it transcends like the boundaries of the country that you're in or like the people who are in your day-to-day life. It lets you meet and connect with people from all around the world. And it was just the most incredible experience being connected to so many like-minded people. Another one of my values is growth. I really love like self-growth and thinking about how I can always be learning about myself and the world around me. And my YouTube channel became a place where I could share my own journey of growth with others, reflect on it, have more opinions on my growth. It was kind of challenging me in new ways. And yeah, so it just became this place where so many of my values were allowed to be actualized. And when I first started the channel, and the core of my YouTube channel was being a study tuber, my mission was also so clear. Like, I just wanted to help students. I wanted to help students feel less stressed about their GCSEs and A-levels. I wanted them to be empowered with new tools for studying. I wanted them to be able to connect with other like-minded students who really cared about their education and wanted to learn and grow. And so there it was. It's like I had my really core values. I had these guiding principles of how I wanted to create the channel. And I had this mission of clearly serving people, clearly serving students. But then it kind of fell apart in my gap year when I realized that my mission of helping students would be a lot more difficult when I was out of education. And I started to feel this sense of purposelessness that I'd felt when I first realized I didn't want to be a vet, because my YouTube channel, this thing that had become my source of purpose, was just a lot less clear for me. Like, what do I post? No, now that I'm no longer doing study with me's, what do I post when I'm no longer talking about revision tips? And once again, coming back to this workshop reminded me that your mission is the thing that can change, is an ever-changing thing. It's your values that stay the same. And seeing as some of my values are connection and growth, that is something you can actualize beyond just talking about studying. And over time, I've come to realize that the mission of my YouTube channel can change. The mission can change. It's the values and the guiding principles that stay the same. And I think I'm still in a period of redefining what I want my online presence to be. But right now, my mission feels a lot more centered around mindfulness and truly encouraging young people to create mindful moments in their everyday life. So for example, casual magic, like really inspiring young people to take the moment every single day to find something that they're grateful for, to find beauty in the mundane every day. And that is a mission that I really resonate with. Maybe it wasn't the mission that I first started my channel with, but the core values of it are the same. You know, like I still want to connect with people all around the world. I still want to inspire them to have optimism and gratitude and joy for their daily lives. And I believe that that also contributes to a really healthy sense of growth within you. And since having defined my values, my guiding principles, and understanding that my mission can change, it really eased my post-graduation lostness. When I graduated uni last year, you know, I didn't know exactly the specifics of my career or what I'd be doing with my life, but I know my values. I know my guiding principles. I have a mission that at least I'm committing to for now. And so it's fine. As everything evolves, the specifics can change, but the core is there. And I think to me that gives me a sense of purpose. I know why I'm moving through this world. I know what matters to me. And I hope that you're also able to find that sense of what matters to you. So I've spoken about how I started with my ikigai, right? I've had that more tangible way of defining my purpose and wanting to be a vet. And now I've spoken about how defining my values, my guiding principles, my mission has really guided me in this stage of life as well in my YouTube channel. But the first thing I mentioned, the first route to creating purpose through a spiritual or higher or cultural lens, I think that's something that is starting to resonate with me. As someone who has not been raised very religious, has not kind of had this higher guiding power of just resolutely believing in a god or a religious text, I think I'm at a stage where I'm much more open to just questioning and being curious. And I don't know, right now, something that really resonates with me, I love the idea of, is that each of us is like a soul that has been put here on this earth with a particular mission or to learn certain lessons. And I find that idea really comforting, because whenever I go through a challenge in my life, I just like to zoom out and be like, oh, I have chosen this exact life path to sit here and learn these lessons. And the specifics of the challenge doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's about career or love, or it doesn't matter. All these challenges are actually just here to help me evolve and grow in a much more deeper sense than just what the eye can see or what LinkedIn can see. There's this real sense of internal growth in a spiritual way. And I just love that. And I think it means that even when my career's not thriving or my love life isn't thriving, or all these ways of defining your purpose in a thriving way, whenever they're not going well, I still feel like just my existence has purpose. Me purely being here, being alive, going through my daily life, trying to find joy in daily life, that in itself has intrinsic worth. Each of us just being here has intrinsic worth. And I'm really excited to keep exploring this other grander lens of purpose beyond the tangible. So, what is some of my best advice for you if you are feeling purposeless, if you're trying to work out your purpose in this life? Firstly, I think you should have a look at the tools that I've mentioned in today's episode. Again, we're going to put some resources in the show notes so you can really sit and journal and ask yourself these questions. But I would really invite you to reflect. Reflect on what you care about. Reflect on times in your life you've felt this drive and this motivation for living. On a smaller scale, you can think about a recent day in your life, a recent week in your life, where you've just felt really purposeful. And question why. Like, oh, maybe I went to this university lecture and I just loved it. I was so passionate. I was so excited to be there. And so I came away feeling so much purpose just through learning, like the intrinsic value of learning. Or maybe the other day, like I was on a walk and I saw the sunrise and it filled me with such a deep sense of gratitude for being alive. Just question, what are those moments that make you feel like you have a strong purpose in being here? I also invite you to learn from others around you. So have a look at the people in your life. Is there anyone who clearly has a strong sense of purpose? Like, I am very fortunate to have just incredible people in my life. I love the people in my life. And for example, I have this wonderful friend called V. Maybe you know her online, at V Kativu, shout out. But she has such a strong dedication to ending inequality in girls' education globally. That's her mission, that's her vision, probably comes from many core values of caring about education, but also equality and fairness. And she worked for the UN, she was an ambassador for girls' education, and just a lot of her life is dedicated very clearly to that sense of purpose. And I think being around people like her constantly remind me what it's like to live a life of a clear mission. And it's inspiring. It's inspiring being around people who have a purpose, no matter what that purpose is. And I think through being around them, you're not only inspired, but you can question why they have it and then how you can have it too. You can ask them questions like, have they ever struggled with their sense of purpose? If yes, what did they do in those moments? How did they find their purpose? And how do they stay connected to it as they move through their life? And finally, a big recommendation I have is to just choose something. I think even when you fill out the ikigai, you know your values, you know your guiding principles, there's still a million different missions that you could choose, right? Like, the world is a big place. There's so many problems you can try and solve. There's so many things you can try and find purpose or meaning in. But I really recommend just choosing and allowing yourself to dedicate a life to that purpose until it doesn't feel right anymore. Like for me, I just chose I wanted to be a vet at a young age, and I just decided that would be the life path I took, until eventually, after lots of work experience, it didn't feel right anymore. And then I pivoted, and then I have a YouTube channel. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay. You can just choose something in that moment and it's allowed to shift, but just choose. Another underrated thing you can do to help you is to read a lot. You can become more aware of problems that might exist in the world, but also solutions. Purpose can be as big and grand as a mission like ending world poverty. But it can also be as simple and local as making sure that your children have a really nourishing breakfast tomorrow. I invite you to think about your own sources of purpose, whether they come from a religious, a spiritual, a cultural lens, and just really questioning what you want your purpose to be informed by. I dare you to try out the values, guiding principles, and mission statement stuff in the show notes. I dare you to try out the ikigai lens. Just see if it helps you put a finger on what you want your purpose to be. And I hope that my messy journey towards finding purpose and redefining it many times reminds you that it's really okay if you have no idea. It's really okay to feel like a mess, to feel lost, to feel uncertain. I think, if anything, that is that's the most common purpose that we all have, is just like trying to figure it out. So it's okay, lean into the lostness, and just choose something, just choose like a mini mission, a mini purpose, try it on, see how it feels for your life, and see if it maybe eases some of that sense of chaos. And hot take, simply existing and soaking up the beauty of the world is also enough. To come back to this idea of casual magic, just finding the beauty in the mundane every day, that is also a purpose. That is enough. My casual magic of the week is actually, it's just been so lovely. So I reconnected with a friend that I met at Cambridge University Summer School for State School students back when I was 16. I met this girl at this 1 week summer school, and we never ended up following each other on Instagram or anything, so lost contact. And then about a month ago, we reconnected on social media. And then this week we went for dinner, and I was shocked how much we had in common, how lovely it was. And it's just, I don't know, it's just this wonderful reminder that you never know when old friends or old connections are going to come back into your life and how they might serve you in different periods. I feel very grateful that she's now in my life, and I'm grateful to the universe for reconnecting us now. And now it is time, just like every week, to have a look at some of your guys' casual magic.
Hi Jade, my name is Ella and I live in Lincolnshire in England, and I'm sharing my casual magic moment. So the other day I was on my way to my LNAT exam. My mum was driving me. It was pretty early and I was really stressed out about this exam because it's really important to me for unis and everything. I was not feeling too great about it. And me and my mum turned this corner onto the road and the sun is rising over it and it's shining on all the mist on the fields and all the morning dew. And honestly, it was so beautiful, and it just kind of put things into perspective for me. Like, it's not going to be the end of the world if I don't do amazing on this test. There's still going to be sunsets and there's still going to be nature, and I think it really helped me relax and calm down and just remember that life will go on.
Okay, so at this time every week, I invite you guys to reflect on your last week and to use that reflection to set an intention for the coming week. So maybe grab a journal, grab a notebook, the notes app in your phone, or even just think about it in your head if you don't have somewhere to write it down. Firstly, ask yourself, what went well this week? What is something I'm proud of? What is a little joy that I can celebrate? Secondly, what is something that maybe challenged me this week? What was something more difficult? What did I have to overcome? And then, based on this, I invite you to choose a one word or a little phrase as an intention for the coming week. So this could be something like prioritizing your peace, or productivity if you're like, oh yeah, like I need a hype era next week. For me, I feel like, apart from reconnecting with this friend, I've spent a lot of this week alone, like working on my own, just holed away in my little editing cave. And so my intention for next week is community and friends and people, because I love people. I'm such a people person. Value connection. So yeah, that is going to be my intention. I'm going to try and schedule some hangouts or calls with friends. Thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. As always, it genuinely means the world that you're in this little corner of the internet with me, sharing your energy and warmth and presence. And if no one has told you today, I hope you remember that you are enough, exactly as you are. Whether you feel really purposeful, your life has so much meaning, or you feel lost and you have no purpose, you are still enough in all of those states. I hope you can find a little casual magic today. What is something casually beautiful in your mundane day? Stay tuned and stay magical.